As the Ferrari Formula One team prepares to head to Las Vegas for the upcoming race weekend, the engineers at Maranello continue to meticulously refine their 2026 project, which revolves around the development of the new Ferrari 678 chassis. This ambitious new car is shaping up with a push-rod suspension system on both the front and the rear axles, representing a strategic shift in Ferrari's approach for the coming season. Following the example first seen on the papaya-colored McLaren cars, the steering arm could be repositioned behind the lower wishbone of the suspension. At the Maranello Racing Department, the Scuderia has embraced a development philosophy that is widely considered more suitable for addressing the unique and demanding challenges imposed by the new revolutionary Formula One technical regulations set to take effect in 2026. While the Ferrari team prepares to travel to Las Vegas, technical work on the 2026 car is progressing at full speed, with engineers putting in long hours to ensure that the 678 project evolves according to plan. This new project remains a constantly evolving and highly complex puzzle, requiring careful coordination across multiple departments. The first chassis of the 678 is currently undergoing all the indoor static tests performed by the Scuderia, which are essential preliminary steps before moving on to the mandatory frontal crash test. This crash test is a regulatory requirement, carried out at one of the FIA-approved testing facilities. In Italy, this testing is conducted at the CSI located in Bolate. These initial tests are crucial to verify the structural integrity and safety of the chassis before it can be cleared for track testing. The 2026 Ferrari car represents a clear departure from the pull-rod suspension layout that was used at both ends of the SF25 chassis. This pull-rod solution delivered results that were ultimately disappointing and far from the expectations of the Scuderia. Ferrari's engineers and technicians have decided to play it safe for 2026. Returning to a pushrod layout at the front is not considered a dramatic change, especially given that the pull-rod configuration was only introduced this year and proved far from convincing in terms of performance consistency and overall balance. However, early technical indications suggest that Ferrari is not simply reverting to past solutions. Instead, the team appears to be preparing an important and innovative development. The steering arm is expected to be moved behind the lower triangle of the suspension system. This concept was first introduced in Formula One, very boldly, by the McLaren team 2 seasons ago and was subsequently adopted by Mercedes for the W16 chassis, demonstrating a growing trend among leading teams to explore this approach. Although this option is more challenging to integrate into the chassis due to packaging and mechanical constraints, it offers significant opportunities for aerodynamic development. Diego Tondi and Frank Sanchez, key engineers within the Scuderia's technical department, aim to replicate the aerodynamic benefits that McLaren was able to extract from their MCL39 chassis. By exploiting the cleaner suspension layout and better flow management, Ferrari hopes to gain similar performance advantages that could translate into improved lap times and race pace consistency across a variety of circuits. At the rear of the 678, Ferrari's decision to revert to a push-rod layout is directly tied to the disappointing outcomes of the revised pull-rod suspension that was introduced during the Belgian Grand Prix. That particular update had been expected to significantly influence the direction of the season, potentially providing a performance boost, but in practice, lowering the front arm of the upper wishbone made it more difficult to achieve the correct aerodynamic and mechanical balance, ultimately limiting performance gains. Interestingly, Mercedes had faced a comparable situation earlier in the 2025 season. The Silver Arrows introduced a new rear suspension geometry on the W16 chassis at the Italian Grand Prix in Imola, well before Ferrari made its own development choices. However, after a period of analysis, doubts, and internal uncertainty, Mercedes ultimately abandoned this solution, reverting to the original rear suspension specification. This original configuration proved far more effective and was preferred by their lead drivers, George Russell and Kimi Antonelli, highlighting the complex trade-offs involved in suspension design. Ferrari might have been in a similar position to make such a reversal if it were not for budget cap constraints imposed under the FIA's regulations. Making a costly step back would have required significant financial resources that could not be easily justified. Redesigning a pushrod suspension involves creating a new gearbox casing, which introduces considerable additional expense and engineering complexity. Even though the internal gears of the transmission are not expected to undergo radical changes for 2026, the gearbox casing itself is being meticulously developed for 2 primary reasons. First, All internal suspension components will now be housed in the upper section of the casing rather than in the lower area, as was the case previously. Second, the need to reduce weight in order to achieve the 768 kg minimum car weight requirement demands a lighter structural design while still ensuring extremely high torsional rigidity. Achieving this balance is a major engineering challenge for the Scuderia. For these reasons, Ferrari is focusing on innovative materials that are capable of combining these two conflicting requirements, minimizing weight while maintaining structural stiffness. These materials allow Ferrari to avoid extreme solutions that could be counterproductive and might compromise performance or reliability. The 678 chassis, therefore, will avoid pushing certain concepts to an extreme. Leclerc, Ferrari's technical director, has set the goal of maximizing the benefits of designing the entire car within the same Maranello factory. This integrated approach ensures far better coordination and interaction between all components, from suspension to aerodynamics, and contributes to a cohesive performance package. By contrast, the SF25 chassis was designed with an emphasis on minimizing the size of radiating masses, which was advantageous when operating with extremely tight bodywork, but proved less effective on slower or hotter circuits, where the cooling loops generated losses that reduced overall aerodynamic efficiency. Here, McLaren's design philosophy once again serves as inspiration. Is it better to add an extra kilogram of ballast, or should that mass be strategically used to improve balance and support aerodynamic development? This careful weight distribution and strategic thinking are central to the development philosophy Ferrari is applying for the 678. The 2026 cars will also feature active aerodynamic systems at both the front and rear, with the objective being clear: to achieve maximum aerodynamic efficiency while significantly reducing drag. A car that slices cleanly through the air will be perfectly suited to the requirements of the new regulations. Given that the electrical power available may be insufficient to consistently deliver the full 350 kW from the K motor generator unit, reducing aerodynamic drag becomes a major competitive advantage for the team. For the first season of these highly agile new Formula One cars, Ferrari believes it may be wise not to exaggerate with overly radical technical solutions. Instead, the Scuderia aims to produce a car that may not achieve extreme peaks of performance, but which also avoids significant weaknesses that could compromise race results. The technical challenges of 2026 are numerous, multifaceted, and extremely complex. They include the development and perfect integration of active aerodynamic systems, managing a 50-50 split in power output between the internal combustion engine and hybrid system for the first time, integrating new battery technology, with questions still lingering about which teams will adopt solid-state solutions, and the introduction of e-fuel, all while adhering to strict weight targets. Under the new regulations, Formula One cars are required to be 30 kilograms lighter compared to the current ground effect machines. However, the 2026 power units themselves are expected to increase in weight by approximately 30 kilograms. This means that teams effectively need to remove a total of 60 kilograms from the car in order to reach the new minimum weight. A truly massive and challenging task. Although the 2026 cars will be shorter, narrower, and equipped with lighter tires, these changes alone will not compensate for the entire weight deficit. Hitting the design targets while avoiding pockets of inefficiency that could compromise on-track performance will be absolutely essential. Ferrari aims to assemble a competitive package that addresses these challenges comprehensively. After a disappointing 2025 season, which the team is keen to forget, the Scuderia is determined to bounce back strongly. Under the leadership of Leclerc, the technical department appears focused, organized, and fully aware of the pressing need to deliver tangible improvements and measurable progress on the racetrack in 2026. The Ferrari 678 chassis for 2026 embodies a careful blend of innovation, calculated risk, and lessons learned from both internal experiments and external inspiration, particularly from McLaren and Mercedes. The pushrod suspension at both ends, the repositioned steering arm, and the meticulous development of the gearbox casing represent a deliberate effort to optimize mechanical and aerodynamic performance. Meanwhile, careful weight management, material selection, and an integrated approach to chassis design are key pillars of the Scuderia's strategy, as the Maranello team hopes to take a step forward in delivering a car capable of competing at the highest level of Formula One competition.